You are listening to The Art of Sales. Everyone sells every day, and this is your source for conversational, real-world sales and prospecting methods that you are comfortable using and that get results. You'll help people buy instead of pushing them into being sold. Here's your host, Art Subcheck.
When I work with clients and sales reps at training workshops, one area we invest a lot of time in is working on our interest creating opening and our voicemail message, making sure that we've got our value statement in there. And I can't help but recall one of the best, most timely value statements I'd ever heard. Let me set the stage here for you. First of all, personally, I have no business being on a ladder. I don't care for heights. I'll admit it. Now, when I'm in a plane or in a tall office building, that's fine. But when there's the slightest chance of falling out of or over something, over the edge of a cliff, no, not for me. So, and also there's no reason for me to be on a ladder. As my friends will attest, my best tool is the telephone. And they're not always referring to me selling. It's me calling someone to fix something or do something. So, what did I find myself doing? This is actually a few years ago. I was up on a tall ladder, on a roof. Yeah, I was taking a thingamajiggy plastic knob off of a satellite dish. So why? Well, I had canceled satellite service at a house that I was selling, and they had told me, the satellite service, 2 weeks prior, that they were sending UPS out to pick up the control boxes and that piece from the dish. Well, I forgot about it, or maybe ignored it. And UPS showed up looking for that. So I figured I better go get that stuff. Now, I had procrastinated, so it was kind of late to call somebody to do this. Plus, this was in a remote lake area, and I just decided I had to do it myself. So I got a ladder. It was a great ladder. It was the Little Giant. Maybe you've seen those on infomercials. That's how I bought mine. And I bought it mostly for indoor safe light bulb changing stuff. The ad itself, I don't know if you ever saw that infomercial, but it showed how strong it was. And they actually had 6 people up on that ladder. And I just wish I had one of those there on that roof with me. Now, the good news when I got up on this roof is that no one saw me. I mean, I had to look like a scared caterpillar as I was sliding up and down that steep slope on the roof. And I was actually kind of laying up there paralyzed. And I was mustering up the courage to come down, and it struck me that I was all alone in our lake area, about 20 miles from my main residence at the time in Omaha. And I realized that my splattered body could sit there for hours before a search party would come looking for me. I mean, I visualized the headlines. Sales trainer identified only by dental records in bizarre rooftop accident. Okay, so anyway, to make a too long story short, I made it down fine. No incident. Now, later that night, I'm reading the evening paper. I was still reading the actual paper at the time. And I saw a small ad in the sports section with this headline, "Don't die cleaning your gutters." And it actually showed a cartoon of a guy hanging off of his gutters with his ladder falling down. Now, did that hit home? Yeah, absolutely. Why? Well, for a couple reasons. Number one, the headline had a great value statement, which was fear of loss, right? The ultimate fear of loss. And number two, it was timely. It was relevant for me at that very moment. Okay, so what does this have to do with you and being in sales and your own prospecting? Well, it should be something that you strive to do every call, every day. And let's look at these. So number one, first, your value statement. So for years, I have preached and lectured and begged and demanded that sales reps have a value statement at the beginning of calls, in voicemails, in every piece of communication that you send out. I mean, think about it. Why would someone want to speak with you otherwise? I mean, we can call it a value statement, benefit statement, elevator speech, value prop, whatever. You've got to have it in order to minimize resistance and maximize your chances for success. Very simply, it answers the question, here's what's in it for you. Ask anyone who's been through my seminars or workshops, maybe it's you, or had their opening reviewed by me after going through my Smart Calling course, and they'll tell you that I am insistent about having that in your opening. Now, here are some examples of what are not value statements. Oh, we're the largest in the industry. I just want to update my records here. We've been in business for 45 years. I mean, who cares? How can you help me now? That's what your prospects are asking. Your value statement is the result of using and or owning your product or service, not the product or service itself. So what value are you communicating to prospects and customers at the beginnings of calls or in your emails, your LinkedIn in-mails? Always keep in mind, it's not what you do or what you want. It's always what they perceive that they're going to get or potentially avoid. Now, number 2, we have time relevancy. Of course, not dying while on a ladder couldn't have been more time relevant when I saw that ad. And I was thinking just the day before that I also needed to get my office gutters cleaned at the time. And it reminded me of what copywriter and marketing guru Dan Kennedy said. He said, in copywriting and sales, you want to enter the conversation the prospect is having with himself in his own mind. Perfect. So how can you do this in your sales communication? Well, by crafting a value statement that very specifically addresses an issue that is important in your prospects and customers' lives. And you should know what needs your products and services fill, what problems they solve, and what pains they ease. If you're calling a targeted prospect or customer, you should have a good chance of being relevant. Now, granted, sometimes these issues may not always be at the forefront of their mind, of being a concern for them at that very moment. But they will be better than if you had given them no thought at all, which is what a lot of sales reps do, and they call just for the sake of activity, hoping that they hit a target. To really help ensure that your value statement is truly relevant, do your research and then get information from people other than the decision maker. And I've mentioned this many times here on the show. We call that social engineering. Use every call as an opportunity to collect some information from people other than your decision maker. So for example, let's say I call in, I get an assistant on the phone. I might say, hey, Chris, art subject here, business by phone. I want to make sure I'm totally prepared when I speak with Joe. I'm thinking that you could help me. So tell me, as it relates to prospecting in your department there, tell me a little bit about, or what initiatives is she working on right now as it relates to? What are the priorities of the department right now as they relate to? So do you see how you could use that information to make your sales outreach more relevant, more intelligent, more timely? Yeah. And then you're going to be able to enter the conversation they might be having in their own mind. All right. So use these ideas and your messages will generate more interest, which makes the remainder of your calling and your sales process easier. It's going to get you more success, and you'll probably stay off of ladders as well. All right. Hey, you know what time it is.
Your attitude will be iron. Every way you'll never feel what they say. It's the art of the sales. Quote of the day.
That's right. It's time for the quote of the day. And today's quote is especially relevant for everything I just talked about. And this quote has been around forever. It's in one of the very first motivational books that I ever read when I was in high school. It's from Dale Carnegie. And Dale said, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Remember, it's all about them. Okay, hey, if you're getting value from this show, would you let a couple other friends and colleagues know about it? Send them to our show site, theartofsales.com, theartofsales.com. While you're there, please do subscribe using your podcast delivery method of choice. And if you're on iTunes, would you please leave us a review and a 5-star rating? Those mean so much. And speaking of value statements, if you don't yet have my free book called How to Place the Successful Sales and Prospecting Call. I want to send that to you. It's a 180-page actual turn the pages book, and we have a section in there on creating that value statement so that you can generate interest right away at the beginning of your calls and emails and in-mails. So here's how you get it. Go to this site, freesalesbook.com, freesalesbook.com. We just ask that you help with the nominal shipping charge. And international friends, we have an option for you there as well. Hey, until next time, go out and make it your best sales day ever. I'm Art Subcheck.